I am happy to announce our 2024 Banking with Life client-only event. It's going to happen Friday, October 25th, beginning with a pre-event social mixer. The day of the event is Saturday the 26th, followed by an after party. It's going to happen downtown Fort Worth. I will be speaking there. Others will be speaking as well. You'll have the opportunity to meet me, and I'm looking forward to meeting you. You'll have the opportunity to meet the whole Banking with Life team and a room full of people that practice the infinite banking concept from all over the country. Last year, we had about 130 people from 30 different states. The year before that was really good too. This year's going to be even better. We're going to have educational presentations and talks, and that should be important to you if you're practicing the infinite banking concept. I can't wait to see you. So in this episode, my friend Barry Dyke joins us once again. He's a perennial guest. I love him. He's a friend. He's a researcher among researchers. And we primarily talked about his fourth book that was just released, The Retirement Ruse, how stock buybacks, cryptocurrencies, unicorns, and SPACs help destroy America's savings and retirement plans. I'm just 16 pages into this book, and I've got to go back over those 16 pages and highlight the fire out of it. I can't wait to finish the book personally. I think that you would enjoy reading it. And we had a great conversation. So thank you for listening.
That's why I get into things like the SPACs. There was a guy by the name of Michael Klein, Kleine. Oh, he had he was kind of like one of the SPAC kings, and he was a Citigroup banker, and he went on his own. He created M. Klein and Associates, and he brought all these companies public using SPACs. And matter of fact, Credit Suisse. Now, this is stupid. They spent $175 million buying his investment banker practice, and he was going to bring Credit Suisse First Boston back into the limelight in American investment banking. That was his designation, okay? Now, he did a lot of shitty deals, but I get into the deals like a multi-plan, which was, unfortunately, it was almost like a corporate gangbang of private equity, and then he brings it public. And I think I don't know, I looked at it yesterday, what I think Multiplan went public at a SPAC at around $10 a share. I think it's 32 cents, 35 cents now. So they're hanging on by a thread now, and this is through a SPAC. So if you couldn't make this stuff up, that's why I had to do this.
That reminds me of Lehman Brothers, or forced out. That was a push out, in my opinion. They're bailing everybody else out, but not Lehman Brothers. It's like the pack turns on itself kind of a situation. But I remember that date. I can go pull the date up because I bought a life insurance policy on the exact date, right? And I didn't realize this until 2 or 3 years later, and I'm, spending some time with a young agent, just showing him how life insurance works and why, how to structure it, whatever. And he pointed it out to me. He said, James, because the issue date, right, is always on the policy. He goes, he just pointed that date out, and he said, do you understand the significance of that date? And I said, no. It's like, no, I don't. And it was the date that Lehman Brothers went broke. And so it gave us an opportunity. And so that was looking back, right, at the time. And so you look at Lehman Brothers, what happened at the date, of course, that's a terrible date for them, right? And then compared to a life insurance policy issued on that date, which would you rather have? It's in my mind, I know what I'd rather have. I'm just saying I remember the date. I can go pull the date that Lehman Brothers went out. And then if I go back to Citi, you mentioned Citigroup in your terminology for them. Citigroup, right? They own Citibank, right? And if I recall, and correct me if I'm wrong, they purchased Prime America, who purchased A.L. Williams. So the old buy term, and that's the difference. And I'm not slamming on that. Any of the entities or individuals. It's the concept that I learned in my experience over 33 years, because I started my career 33 years ago buying term and investing the difference. I bought that hook, line, and sinker. So, you fast forward 33 years, but early on, I'm like, no, that's not the solution. My point here is Citibank, Citigroup owns Citibank, owns Prime America bought A.O. Williams. So they're telling all of their consumers to buy term and invest in difference. But wait, how much whole life, guaranteed, permanent life engine? They don't buy IULs and they don't buy VULs. I don't care what anybody says on social media. I wonder why. Because of the guarantees. So they buy whole life insurance. And so how many billions of dollars do they own, Citigroup, in whole life insurance, while they're telling their clients and their customers to buy term and invest the difference? It's almost, do what I say, not what I do, across the board in this financial paradigm that we live in today. So thank you for letting me.
Yeah, no, that's very true. James, there's like, obviously, I have a good friend of mine, Steve Church. He's an actuary, and he's a blessing in my life. And, because I've done a lot of research, of these corporations, how they use annuities and things like that. And I was looking at, how they, Clorox, the bleach company, they bought these pretty good sized annuities, like 100. They bought two of them, and sometimes they don't disclose it, but I know for a fact they bought two to finance a pension plan. But I'm looking through all their 10K, which they have to file, which is my public record, and I'm seeing all the guaranteed retirement plans for all these top executives of Clorox. So, so they're throwing all their rank and file folks under the bus. And this is, and I looked at the 10K, I was like, oh my goodness. So the executives, they all have severance plans and guaranteed annuities and deferred comp and all this really good stuff. But the regular folks, they terminated the pension plan, and now they're putting them into 401ks. So you see it, and that's what I love this country. I really, really do. But what the thing is that what you're seeing is that a lot of the stuff is really going to the 1%, if you will. And but the irony of the whole thing is that they really don't. The really wealthy don't want to have a lot of risk. And also, too, when you get to a certain point, a certain degree of wealth, you have so much money, it doesn't matter. You can ride out these markets, but most people can't. So it's, and actually, I think, matter of fact, they're actually the Federal Reserve Bank of New York, that 10% of the population owns 90% of the stocks.
Yeah.
So this is what's happening. So we have this hypocrisy, but I want to really give people actually real facts to show people how their money's being gambled. And it's just the pandemic. It was just like an unprecedented gambling in stocks, an orgy, if you will.
Really? Going to that, can you share on that? Do you get in that in your book, or?
Yeah, I do. I get into it, and so I and then on the whole thing is it's kind of sad. I get into the whole the autonomous vehicle. Everyone wants to have autonomous cars, like we're in the Jetsons or something like that, but the money blown on this has just been. I found at least over 100 billion was invested into autonomous vehicles, and a lot of them, a lot of these cars, they can't even turn left, and they can't see children or small animals and things like that. So it's just. I mean, someday we will see them. I don't know if it'll be in our lifetime, but the money just blowing. I mean, Apple, which has amazed me. Apple's was a very secretive company on this stuff. Oh yeah, okay, yeah. And General Motors. I mean, hello, folks. How many times we have to bail them out? But yeah. So General Motors, and I got this actually from the public records, James. They had that their autonomous vehicle Cruise, which Mary Barra says is going to be the future of GM by 2030. Well, I don't think so. But yeah, so yeah, she said it was going to be there's going to be nearly 30 billion in revenue in 2030. And she said this. I got this. And they put 9.7 billion into Cruise, and it's been for the most part shut down. And then there's the Apple. they had it's very, even though it was a public company, they operated in a very, very secretive autonomous vehicle. They thought they were going to outdo Elon Musk. And Apple spent $10 billion. I call it the Apple car crash. And they when they shut it down, and actually it was this year, James, they shut it down. I had no idea that Apple had spent $10 billion on autonomous vehicle. I had no idea. But then it leaked out when they shut it down. But yeah, they shut it down actually in February of this year. So what are we? So this is February. So how many months ago? 8 months ago?
6. This is 8.
Yeah. So did you know that Apple spent $10 billion on? They employed 2,000 people.
No, they were too secretive. I didn't know.
I didn't know. So I mean, I just saw all this stuff, and then you have all these companies like, they had Airwinds, which was a flying motorcycle company, and then went to bankruptcy, and it's just stupid. I mean, it's just
you get into unicorns as well, because that's a terminology. I mean, I've used the terminology unicorns many times in the in the infinite banking footprint, and fairies and leprechauns and unicorns. But there's a very specific term for these startups that come out of nowhere that are worth $1 billion or have $1 billion in stock.
Yeah, there was a woman, venture capitalist. Her name was Eileen Lee, and she was out of a venture capital firm out of the West Coast called Cowboy Ventures, and she kind of coined the phrase of a mythical investment. Anything with $1 billion valuation or more, and they've multiplied like rabbits, James, and that's why I had to put this together. I said, because this is a glimpse in history, and unless I record this, everyone's gonna forget it. Yeah. So, but it's absolutely insane. And now so we had autonomous cars and all this other crap, and fake meats, which is beyond me. It was just. I don't know, Beyond Meat's trading at maybe $5-6, but I show how all the insider executives are selling out at $160, $120 a share, and now it's like $6. But we go from one crazy venture to the next. And another great example was, and then I get into the WeWork. Do you remember that one, James?
I do. Yep.
So, this is, they put, SoftBank. I mean, in SoftBank,
where is WeWorks? Where were they based?
New York City, and they were actually the largest. They were actually the largest landlord in New York and London, and they had 770 commercial properties, and they had roughly 24 billion of venture capital poured into it. I mean, talking, from Wellington Management and JP Morgan and SoftBank.
Did they have property in France, in Paris?
Yeah, they had it all over the place.
And the reason I ask is because my family and I, on the last one of the travels that we've done previously, I think it was this year, we went to Paris. And part of the tour, the tour guide who lives in Paris, he's pointing out this massive building, and I'm quite sure it was WeWorks.
Yeah, yeah. So, anyways, it was the whole thing that these guys forget all the stuff. The first business order of any business, you got to make a profit. Yeah. But this is all so it was just, they poured all this money into it, and I get into the story just because, again, you couldn't, unless someone documented, unless I was a scribe for this, people would forget it. But they put 23 billion of other people's money into it, and also the mutual fund money from Fidelity and John Hancock and T. Rowe Price. Again, it's always, looking for dumb retail money, and they put it into WeWork, and in 2019, James, the son, Masayoshi Son, the Japanese guy, so this is my next Alibaba, because he did have a very successful business called Alibaba, which he made a lot of billions on. And Morgan Stanley, they said this could be worth much 110 billion. Okay, it's like, hello. And then they they 2019 they try to bring the company public. Of course, because the whole thing is finding the greater pool and cashing out, and and they started looking at the balance sheet, and the banker said, "We can't present this on a traditional IPO because they have like $2.5 billion in revenue and $3 billion in expenses. They're not making any money." So I couldn't make, but anyway, so they valued it at $47 billion, and they went bankrupt about a year ago, and they use reverse stock splits, but the founder, Adam Newman, the founder, he walked away with about $1.5 billion, and I think SoftBank alone lost 13 billion alone of other people's money.
Wow.
So this is what's going on with people's money, and so I documented it, but I also so everything's based upon filings, and then I also use a service called Crunchbase, which is a subscription service I pay for, to verify everything.
It seems to me like you have these life insurance companies, these conservative companies. We've talked in the past about the pension risk transfer. These big companies, they're transferring the risk of the pension that they have, paying their employees these pensions. They're offsetting that risk to life insurance companies. Right?
Yeah.
And then you have these, not all of them, but it seems to me, especially, I don't want to name any companies or anything like that, but it seems to me these companies, and it doesn't even have to be in the life insurance world, but these companies are trying to get unreasonable rates of return. And then they suffer from FOMO apparently as well, and they also suffer from the market always goes one way. It's just Einbahnstrasse, it never comes down, never corrects. And what makes these? We're talking about billions of dollars. Why would these companies?
Actually, trillions at this point.
Yeah. Well, absolutely. Just that one company, 23 billion and 20 billion here and 20 billion there. You're going to add up.
You're talking some money all of a sudden. Yeah.
Oh my gosh. I don't understand why. I mean, is it just greed to the nth degree? Are they just trying to hit some kind of number so they can walk away with more than 1.5 billion? The guy was very disappointed when after the bankruptcy, that's all he walked away with, right? 1.5 billion on WeWorks. I don't get it. I mean, I just don't understand it, Barry, why they take these unreasonable risks. They're almost ungodly risk. And I get it. It's with other people's money, but you have to have a conscience. I mean, don't you have to get up in the morning and shave and sleep well at night and all those things? I mean, and two, you could apply it to the real estate at the you and me level. Everybody's trying to get a 20% rate of return, and this is a FOMO, and, you win a couple, and maybe you hit those numbers a couple of times, maybe you have a good deal, like Alibaba. So you just trying to pull the slot machine handle one more time to, replicate it. So if I round out my question is, what drives these people to risk so much of other people's money? I mean,
it's simple. It's greed.
It's just greed.
It's greed. I call it's rapacious greed. And, and none of us, I'm no angel. I'm certainly not. And, but
you may not be an angel. I'll agree. I'm no angel either. But sir, you're not greedy at all. And I don't understand why you would risk so much of so many people's money and just not think twice about it. I mean, I would. Does the suicide rate go up on these kind of people? I'm just asking.
Well, yeah. I don't know. I mean, I think I'm a Christian. I know you are as well. I mean, I think really this is kind of a garage and eternity. But I think their God is money. And I like money. Believe me. I mean, it's just as much as anyone, but it's not my God. And I sleep at night. I know you do as well. And but but how much is enough? I mean, it's just look at Steven Schwarzman, who's the you talk about Lehman Brothers. Now, Schwarzman, he was a Lehman Brothers banker, and he started Blackstone, which is now the largest private equity firm in the world. I mean, Steven Schwarzman has, I don't know, he just bought a property in London for like $100 million. He has another mansion down in Newport, which we're in New England here. So he bought another mansion down in Newport, like $27 billion. I think they've been restoring it for like 5-6 years, whatever. He has another home in Nantucket, right across the way. Now, because where we live in New England here, this is where all the billionaires come in at this time of year. This is a beautiful area to be. And then Schwarzman, he's got a home in Saint Tropez. He's got another home on Jamaica. And then he has John D. Rockefeller's apartment in New York, which I think has. I think it's the largest. It's like the largest apartment in New York. Is worth like $120 million. So how much do people really need? I mean, but this is. My point is that I'm all for people making money, believe me. But the tax code is really rigged in their favor, and that's why people are doing it with the carried interest, and then they're saying, well, hey, there's all this money on these insurance companies, let's go after them, and that's what they're done. Yeah. And but bankruptcy, it's just that's why I'm beginning to the Pirates 3, James, but I'm getting ahead of myself. But that's why but the bankruptcies are just incomprehensible, and the defaults, are just incomprehensible.
Do you have the subtitle for Pirates of Manhattan 3?
The Pirates of Manhattan 3 is going to be the Pirates of Manhattan 3, how private equity robber barons became the new, how private equity titans became the new robber barons.
How private equity
titans
became
the new robber barons.
Yeah. And I don't want to, like I said, I just started on this fabulous book. And, like I said earlier, and I'm just going to say again, I don't normally go in and highlight the original, copy that was signed by the author. Thank you very much. But you did highlight it. So it gave me free, pass to highlight. And I just started reading it this morning. I'm not kidding you. And I've only gotten 18. I'm not even through the forward and the acknowledgement. Right. And I'm going to go the introduction, the forward and the introduction. I'm going to go back and highlight. There are so many things. I was telling Julie when I came in, I was telling her this, just started, just got it. And where's a highlighter? Because I'm going to go back and start over and highlight. There's so much stuff here to highlight in the first 16 pages. And we hadn't even gotten into the how stock buybacks, cryptocurrencies, unicorn. The individual topics that you dive deeper into. This is fabulous. I'm telling you, if you don't have your copy yet.
Yeah, and thank you, James. And the other thing, I'm not going to mention names, but one of the biggest cryptocurrency entrepreneurs actually has a house, ocean house, maybe about a mile or two right from here where I live. He has a compound. And, it's just, I think the pool house is 4,500 square feet, just the pool house, but it's but they also lost, like hundreds of millions of dollars in a crypto exchange, and no one knows about it. So that's why I'm doing this, James, just because how a country saves and how they invest for retirement is so important. America, unfortunately, is an outlier. We are one of the worst in industrialized countries. And actually, you would be better off if you were in the Netherlands or Norway or England or just about anywhere.
We're down there with which I just read this morning.
Yeah, it's in the
some of these Central American countries.
Oh yeah, it's I was kind of shocked, and it's not me. It's on page 2, James. If you see it,
it's page 2 and 3. Yep.
Yep. the Netherlands is, number one, and, then Iceland, Denmark, Israel, Australia, Finland, Singapore, Norway, Sweden, the UK, Switzerland, Canada, Ireland, Chile, Uruguay, Belgium.
Uruguay and Chile is ahead of us. I mean, God bless them.
Yeah.
I can't wait to go visit those countries, Hong
Kong's better than this. Kazakhstan.
Kazakhstan. Kazakhstan. Oh my gosh.
And integrity, we're actually one of the worst, which is really kind of, to me, when retirement money, and again, I'm not against market investing people, but I'm just saying purpose of retirement income plan is to produce retirement income. The purpose of a stock market is to allocate capital, period. It was never built to build retirement income.
Right. Yep. I mean, I don't want to pick on Chile or whatever that third world country was. I mean, we're ahead of them in one component or two, but overall they're ahead of us. What country was that? Colombia. It's like, oh my gosh, we should be ashamed.
We're ahead of France, but I like living in France. I mean, the whole countryside's down. Have you ever been in France? I've been there in France, and the whole countryside shuts down, essentially.
Yeah, I love France. If I ever come up missing, I'm either going to be in France. My people up there in Edinburgh, Scotland, or Austria, or between the three. So yes, I love France.
So the whole
out
thing
in the country. Okay.
So the whole thing is that it's the reason why I'm shouting about this, because I've been in this business long enough. As you know, James, in financial services, there's a real time lag between if something, say if a market corrected today, which it could, okay, but it's going to be the time lag of maybe 12, 24 months before the real pain is really felt. And the problem is that the problems which I'm talking about now are eventually going to be huge.
Yep.
Not now, but 3-4 years ago, 5 years ago, it's going to be horrible. So that's why I'm trying to get people better prepared today.
I agree. There's no time like today, and if you don't care, who will care? I mean, who will care if you don't?
Yeah, care? And I make the great examples. The government is totally incompetent. Do you remember this guy, Alan Stanford? Actually, do you remember Alan Stanford Financial?
No, I can't say that I do. No.
Well, he was he was kind of like a crypto queen of the 2000. He sold these certificates of deposits, James, out of Barbados, and he sold billions of them. And matter of fact, all these banks sold them for him, and they finally put him in jail in 2009. All right.
I mean, just think of that. Wait, I want to buy a certificate of deposit from a bank in Barbados.
Barbados, yep.
I bet it had nothing to do with the rate of return, did it, Barry?
No, but he was making up this stuff and selling them. And, but the major banks, I get into it, were TD Bank, one of the large lenders in Canada. HSBC, a lot of these huge entities. I mean, huge.
Hong Kong, Shanghai,
and there was roughly about 7-8 billion lost. Okay. You know when it was settled, James? They finally settled the case.
No.
It was last February, and the final settlement was like 2.7 billion. Okay, so it was. So we're talking 14 years. Now, they put the guy in jail in 2009. They finally, TD Bank and I have all the banks in there. And matter of fact, I think I can tell you.
Is that in this book, this current book?
Yeah, it's in this book here. But matter of fact, I do have it right at the conclusion. It's 8 billion in losses. Okay, and the banks involved in this were TD Bank, HSBC, Hong Kong, Shanghai, Bancorp, Societe Generale, the big French bank, Trustmark National out of and then there was an independent bank actually out of Houston, and they finally ended up paying $1.2 billion. TD Bank paid a $1.2 billion fine, and other banks paid maybe about $300-400 million. My point is that there were $8 billion in losses. There was $2.7 billion in final settlement. But you know how much of that went into? About a third of that went to the lawyers.
Oh yeah, yep.
So my point is that if you don't take, my point is why not simplify and stay safe to begin with, okay? Because even when these things do collapse, and there's going to be more of them, okay, it's going to take a long, long time because the lawyer's going to tie this shit up forever, okay? So this is what happens. So this is 14 years. So if you're a retiree with one of these our Allen Stanford CDs, it took 13, 14 years to recover the money, and it only got 2.7 billion. And a third of that went to the lawyers.
Pennies. Do you remember what the CDs, their face amount or their promised rate was, by chance?
I think again, it's the same thing, Jim. They're always offering a couple like Judas-like returns when everyone's paying 5 or 6, they were paying like 7 or 8. It's the same thing that happened in executive life.
Yeah, and it's the boring, the idea that annuities are bad, quote unquote. The insurance company, because like I've done it 33 years, the insurance companies tie up your money. The agent makes a ridiculous commission. Life insurance is the world's worst place to put money. The same things, they can't have access to your money and blah, blah, blah. And so there's a whole argument that's raging and it's stoked continually. Those things are bad. And look at the rate of return that you can get over here, right? In the market or wherever. And so it's a story to me of the tortoise and the hare, the slow, steady, consistent, reasonable, moderate, respectable rate of return, right? And you can't cherry pick time periods, right? You cannot cherry pick time periods in the financial world, right? And if we look at over your lifetime, life insurance policy on your life is going to last you your whole life. Okay, that's a long time period. Oh, wait, and then we can talk about 50 years too if we're using life insurance and guaranteed annuities that if they're structured appropriately will leave a legacy to the people that you love or the things that you care about. Then you can look at longer time periods beyond your life, right? Slow, the exponential curve of compounding, and that is so diminished in the financial world today. While all of these guys and or individuals on Wall Street and these big corporations, that's where they're putting their money in guaranteed payouts. But then we're going to restrict the 401k, the retirement plan, whatever it is for the employees to the market. It's like, oh my gosh. The narratives that I continually see, and I know you've seen them, and you're more of a gentleman than I am, right? Sometimes I go off and maybe a little too passionate, a little too explicit to me, and I'm not adverse to risk, right? I don't think that. And I'm not a doomsday guy. I'm telling you, I'm an eternal optimist. But to me, in my experience, steady, reasonable, consistent, guarantees compared to maybe, I'm the FOMO, I'm fear of missing out, I'm starting too late, so I got to capture a higher rate of return, and then it's almost the individual, you fly by all of these red flags, but you do it anyway, and that's what I see in the narrative of the big wide world. To me, I can imagine losing people's money, much less billions or trillions that they're talking about, and then enjoy, your 5 homes around the world or whatever it is. Oh my gosh, there's this lifetime and one more, and we're all gonna earn what we deserve, to me, and of course, like you, very much like you, we actually provide service to clients. We're actually here as they go through retirement, and they're dependent upon that retirement income and all the expenses of, the rising cost of healthcare and all these things. You can't solve a known problem with an unknown solution. And I can't do it successfully, right? Never have. Can we all get lucky? Yes, we can. But if there's a guaranteed in the future, like you're going to have a certain amount of income, right? You want to leave a certain amount to your people or whatever. Those are guaranteed expectations. Those are guaranteed. And you're going to take and make the solution like, well, maybe it'll work. And, we can use the Monte Carlo, and we can use all kinds of third-party software and spreadsheets and, cherry pick the time number or the time period and raise the probabilities of being successful. That stuff will wear you out. And so a young individual that coming into the financial world, all of that is so mesmerizing to the individual that really wants to do the right thing for their clients, right? This is bad, this is good, and then here's how you prove it or convey it with all of these esoteric calculations, spreadsheets, and presentations and pro formas. And it's like that'll wear you out. Maybe I'm just so old, I've become jaded, and I'm tired of being worn out with all that stuff, which happened early on in my career. I'll wrap it up, my comments here by saying that the working with the right individual, whomever they may be, right, with the right products, whatever they may be. But if you're going to use, or going to solve for guaranteed income or going to solve for guaranteed estate value in the future, there should be some consideration, in my humble opinion, given, despite the noise, should be given to an intelligently thought through decision-making process using guaranteed products that are not issued by companies that are stock companies that are targets for all the corporate raiders and, having to meet all of the requirements of Wall Street. No, I'm talking about a mutual structure. And I know that you like to use also a lot of, or I don't know whether you use them or not, but fraternal organizations. The whole idea and concept of mutuality, those ideas and concepts to me are worth investigating for the consumer. So
there's no question about it, James. And the fact of the matter, which is, the research I did, is that this will come in the next book, is that this is what the rest of the world's doing. America is, again, we're crazy. Our retirement systems our savings systems are upside down. In terms of savings, James, I can't remember some of the statistics, but I think savings are like 27 in the top 30. We're horrible. And then like press transparency, which is another thing, because we're not getting the truth from the mainstream media. And press transparency, I think we're like number 47 by Reuters or something like that. It's like so people are not hearing it through the media, and people are not saved. The problem is, of course, Americans don't save, because they want to push credit cards on people. And then when we do save, whatever, if we actually are fortunate enough to save, then if we do save in our 401k, and believe me, I was with a young couple a friend of mine's daughter and new son-in-law, and very successful. But they're maximizing the 401k. They're putting 40, 50 grand into this thing, and they have no idea, and the money's all locked up in a straitjacket for the next 25 years, Yeah. So it's just people just don't know. So these kids are good savers.
Yeah.
But they had no idea that their money was going to feeding the Wall Street casino.
Right. And then being locked up and putting big barriers between you and your capital. And then, just saving it for a future unknown tax rate, an unknown tax bracket. It's, and then and I have this conversation all the time, you separate yourself from your capital, then you're beholden to the third party lender, the credit cards, the mortgage company, whatever, whomever, all of them. What a coincidence. I mean, who is that really built for? Right? Not built for you. It's built for Wall Street and the bankers. Period. Now, that's not saying that you can't win in Wall Street from time to time. Of course, you can win in Wall Street from time to time. You can win in Las Vegas too, right? From time to time, you can win in Las Vegas. You do very well. And then it's like, oh my gosh, then you're always chasing that win. And I know you know, but I like to ask. I was just asked a nice lady yesterday. I said, the question was, do you know what the difference between Wall Street and Las Vegas is, Barry?
Yes, I do.
Yeah, one of them is
in the casino
desert.
in the desert, and the other one's a casino in the island of Manhattan.
I mean, it's like, oh my gosh, can you win? Yeah, you can win. But neither one of those places were built on losses. Their losses.
No, and the whole thing is this: like one of the biggest casino companies of all time, Caesars Entertainment.
Yep.
Was a giant, which we'll get in Pirates 3, which is one of the largest leveraged buyouts of all history, and $32 billion in 2008, done by Apollo Global Management. And Texas Pacific Group went bankrupt in 2015.
Because of that, were they part of the deal?
Well, they bankrupt. It went into bankruptcy, and it's just I have the whole story. It's just another show, if you will. But Apollo Global are the people behind the theme.
Yeah. And the other stock companies that they're buying. Oh my God.
Yeah, I mean,
the guy at Apollo, I mean, wasn't he a protege to one of the other
well, that's why you're getting into the Pirates 3, but yeah, actually, this is the irony of the whole thing. All the people who from Athene, they all started with Michael Milken at Drexel.
Okay, there you go.
Leon Black was Michael Milken's right-hand man. Mark Rowan worked with Drexel too. Josh Harris also worked with him as well. Tony Ressler, actually worked with Michael Milken as well. Ressler is so incestuous. Ressler's sister actually married Leon Black. Could make this stuff up. And then they all left, and they formed Apollo Global Management. And then in 2009, they formed Athene. But actually, it was actually Goldman, believe it or not, who actually were kind of the guys who started this first, and that's another story to itself. So we'll have another few more stories to talk about, James. But yeah, so it's been taking me a long time, and the hard thing has really been to simplify it so people understand it. But so this is what so see, Wall Street is not dumb. They figured out that probably one of the only places, the safe place to put money within an economy is with a life company. So now they're just taking a good thing and they've polluted it, Yeah. But there's still always hope for people if they talk to people like you.
Yeah, and like you, and I appreciate that. All right, so we'll have more to talk about. I really literally I think I could talk to you all day long, Barry, and enjoy our conversations. I am excited about your book, The Retirement Ruse. If you don't have a copy, you should get a copy. Yes, I haven't read it. Full disclosure, I've only read 16 pages, but now I got to go back and highlight. There's so much to highlight in 16 pages. That's crazy.
Thank you so much, James.
You're welcome. We're going to make this available in our store, and surely they can go to your website and buy it, right?
Yeah, go to barrymjamesdyke.com. They go, there's only certain, you can get off of your website, or I'm just on my website. I haven't even put it on Amazon. It's been kind of a soft launch on this one because, because you're busy writing your third Pirates of Manhattan. Yeah, right? It's just one of those things, I just wanted to do, and it's just it's a goal of mine, and I've been researching this for 15, 16 years, so it's just something I really wanted to share with people because it's not just about us, but it's about our kids and their kids and leaving the place a little bit better than the way we found it. Yeah, I agree. And I know I'm not as old as I look, but I can't remember the first time we met, but I believe it was in Alabama. And you were doing that's where I met you, and Nelson was there. I'd met him previously. You had known him previously. And it might have been an early think tank. I don't remember, but I think it was an early think tank. I hate to say it, James, 2007, when I do first Pirates book, 2007. Yeah.
This is when you were doing the research.
Oh, so this is in 2004. The first Pirates book, yeah.
All right. So when you say you've been researching this a long time, and that's when I met you, Barry, and that's whenever at that time you were doing the research for Pirates of Manhattan 1. I mean, my point here is you've been doing research there's 20 years that I know of.
Yeah. So I actually started researching the first Pirates book in 2004. And then the financial crisis came out, and then that book still sells incredibly well today. Believe it or not,
it should.
16,
it's
17
completely relevant.
And yeah, one of the top financial advisors in all of Canada, a guy named Bruce Etherington, just a wonderful man. I mean, he just works with multi-billionaires and stuff like that. He just bought like 100 copies. He gives to all his clients, and so this is 16, 17 years ago. But I started the research for Pirates Manhattan 3 around 2008 because we started talking about leveraged buyouts and private equity and venture capital. I said, "What is this stuff? How did I miss it?" So it's like $8 trillion of part of the economy. So it just has to be addressed.
Yeah, that's crazy. Okay, so let's just wrap it up right here, if you don't mind, Barry. And it did kind of go a little long enough that we'll make 2 parts out of it. Okay. So thank you again, as always, sir, for coming on.
Yeah, I'll see you soon.
Yep, just in a couple of months.
Yeah, and I'll have Lisa, whatever, make some plans. I've just been so we're good. So I hope we get something out of this.
We will. It'll be what it is. Not over. I mean, nothing is ever scripted on my podcast, and I'm the firm believer if an individual knows what they're talking about, they know the subject. I don't have to say anything or coach anything. Just let them talk, right? So people love you; they love your work, and and I'm pleased and blessed that you share your time with us and our listeners, whomever they may be. It'll benefit you if you would listen, in my opinion.
Yeah, because so I did thank you for your, because I want to kind of on this stuff now, Jez. I want to kind of really bring it to the next level. I want to see if we can get guys like Rogan or whatever at some point, because I think it's really it's going to even boost you even more.
Perfect. I need all the help I can get, Barry. All right, so I'm going to wind it up here. Thank you for listening.
Thank you for joining us on the Banking with Life podcast. If you're watching on YouTube, make sure to like and subscribe and click on that little notification bell. Otherwise, join us on Apple Podcasts and Stitcher for weekly content.